because I started a live stream on time, which is like, you can't beat that. You can't beat that in terms of just uh, new beginnings. But I hope this message finds everyone well. It is I, your friendly neighborhood Ema X. This is me and my tiny piece of sage. But we're sitting here and anointing the space for the energy of ritual so we can tap in and get these full moon new moon messages. Oh my gosh. One day my dyslexia will stop doing that. But you guys already know what it is. If you've been over here, we got our 528 hertz tuning fork. So we are going to go ahead, actually turn off this vent fan. Oh, so much better. Yeah, now you guys can hear me really well. So we're going to go ahead and get our 528 hertz tuning fork. Everybody take a deep breath with me just so we can acclimate to the space and also be aligned on the same frequency, and also just a little quick energy healing. So take a deep breath, inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. Excellent, excellent. I hope this message finds everybody well. I know it's Saturday and folks are out and about, ripping and running in the streets, or are into their media. So not sure how many people are going to judge us on the live, but shout out to everybody who does, and shout out to everybody who catches it on the replay at your leisure, because this isn't back in the 90s. It's not like, oh no, you missed the TV show, you gotta wait until the end of the season when they start playing reruns. Like, remember that used to be our life? Remember the chokehold that TV used to have on people? Not you, not the youth. Y'all don't have any frame of reference for that. If you are under the age of 25, everything I said to you just sounds like super prehistoric. But if you are over the age of 25, your life hasn't always been on demand and streaming and so forth. So you remember what it was like. So gratitude that we have these things that can kind of be like time capsules for when you need them, when you need to come across them. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into our shuffle. Right now, we're going to be doing the Witch's Wisdom Tarot. Such, we got this Venusian energy popping off. We got this divine feminine vibe. We're going to go ahead and do a quick shuffle. So most high ancestors, angels, spirit guides of our collective, what divine messages or even terrestrial messages do you have for us as we tune in to these frequencies? We're going to go ahead and do one more shuffle. Oh, that was a good one. That was a good one. Okay, so we have hand fasting, union. Okay. So we were just talking about the divine feminine Venusian energies, but when we get into the energy of union, um, makes me first think of just the balance of our divine feminine and our divine masculinity that we have within ourselves. So as much as we want to, we think of union as something that happens with us and other people, union is something that you need to have within yourself, especially, like, for me personally, my moon sign and my sun sign were opposite. So a lot of my struggles in my youth were about basically getting those two energies to find a common middle ground. And it can be very similar when it comes to balancing your masculine and feminine energies within yourself. In order for us to show up as the best of ourselves, we need to have those periods of output, but then also those periods of receiving, because life is about balance, and unions are about balance. They're about that even reciprocity, the energies of give and take, and very much coming into union. So also, since we have the hands on the card here, it's also giving the energy of just kind of taking a hands-on approach to the idea of union, and not just expecting it to be something that comes easy, or something that doesn't require effort or any sort of input. Uh, just like any particular interaction that you have with another human being, there's going to be certain degrees of friction. So you want to make sure that you're taking a hands-on approach as opposed to being, passive aggressive. Sometimes it can be difficult to be vulnerable and communicate your feelings and where you're coming from. Even with yourself, it can be difficult to be honest with yourself sometimes about the things that you're feeling. So the first step to, any union, whether it's you being in tune with yourself or you being in tune with those around you, is to be able to accurately, communicate your needs and your boundaries. You know, even with yourself, it's like, hey, because like for me, like I have a Capricorn stellium, so my divine masculine side, like if I let it, it will just work. Like it'll just work. And so I have to bring in that balance of my divine feminine. And now luckily, I have a lot of Piscean and Taurus energy, which is like, no, boo boo, we will relax, we will rest, we will lay down. But you need to have that balance of output so that you're not getting into burnout. I know that we are like really getting into the warm months. It's like the world is opening up. It's like the world is your oyster, but we want to make sure that we are doing the things to maintain the union with ourselves. So like, like just the things that you need to do to keep your household running. Like if you are yourself is an independent household, so you need to make sure that you are taking time to balance the mundane things and also the magical aspects. All right, so we're going to go ahead and pull another card, and we got Lady Goddess Feminine. Hey, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody in the chat. But we pulled Lady Goddess Feminine right after we were talking about how we are stepping into this Venusian energy and how we need to be in union with ourselves. But also, we need to be taking this time to honor the divine feminine aspects within ourselves and also just within nature. Like, it's getting warm. Like if you live in the continental United States, like if you're a northern hemisphere baby, we're in the time of the year where it's getting warm. Even if you live someplace, very far north, it's starting to get warm where you are. So make sure that you are taking the time to rest, to nourish yourself, to feed yourself, to really caretake yourself. And also, so much of healing is just reparenting our inner children and so forth. So we want to make sure that, we're having that balance where we are showing up as the best of ourselves because we are able to tap into those divine feminine aspects, and we're well nurtured. It's like, if you get a good meal, you get a good night's sleep, get a massage. Like if have you ever been pampered? Do you know how you feel on the other side of that? You know how you feel like $1,000,000, and you know how you feel like you could just take on the world. You just feel like I'm real charged up. You get like a good night's sleep, like a real good home cooked meal, like maybe a massage. Like you get all of those you get your rest and you get your receptivity, and you feel really charged up, and it allows you to then step up into the world in your masculine energy fully charged. But we want to make sure to honor the divine feminine aspects. And the person on this card is dancing. Listen, dance is healing, and not even in the sense of you have to be a good dancer, but just I was having a talk the other day because there was a woman who was 80 years old who was, taking this walk, and she went up some steps that I know some 50-year-olds that would have problems with. And we started talking, and one of the things that we hit upon is a body in motion tends to stay in motion. And she said her grandma used to say that, which is how, grandmas always have the wisdom. But a body in motion tends to stay in motion. So as we are taking these steps, we want to make sure that we are honoring our need for divine movement. Not everybody is a gym person, gang. Like not everybody is about that gym life, but you would be surprised how much taking like little walks every day will do both for your fitness, your cardiovascular health, your leg muscles, but also your mental health. And also just sometimes I hope you dance, like shout out to is that Shania Twain? I don't Leanne Rhymes. It's one of those 90s, 2000s country chicks. But the channeled song for today is I Hope You Dance, which is an incredible song. Like don't let, you know, genres stop you from exploring good music. Because there are some really well written songs in that say some fly stuff in genres that you would not necessarily expect. But in that song, it's basically like, I hope you never lose your sense of wonder. I hope that you give faith a fighting chance. And if you get the choice to sit it out or dance, I hope you dance. So we are stepping into this Taurus new moon, fully prepared to dance in our divine energy, fully prepared to dance with life. And by dance with life, I mean go along with the natural rhythms, because that's what it becomes. If you know, if you move along with the ebb and the flow, it becomes your dance partner in this rhythm of life, and you can really honor and cultivate and manifest all the things that you need to if you are in that balanced energy, and if you are honoring the divine feminine within yourself and within others. Okay, so we're going to head and get into this Moonology Manifestations deck, which I really enjoy because it deals with moon aspects, but it also has astrology in there. So be on the lookout if your sign pops out or if anything in particular resonates with you, because this is the thing. As much as I can sit here and intuitively read this cards, there are going to be messages that you get that resonate that I might not necessarily speak on, because you have your own intuition. And as much as these readings are me speaking with you guys, there is a co-creation, because you know we're in energetic harmony, and you know I'm tapped in with your ancestors, your guides, and so forth. So without further ado, full moon in Gemini, embrace the flow of life. So weren't we just, so we have this union card here, and we were just talking about how when you move with the natural ebbs and flows, it kind of becomes your dance partner. And we get Gemini, which is that dualistic twin energy, and we have these two beings here placing each other, and it's talking about embracing the flow of life. So yeah, I love when different decks come out and you guys see me shuffle, but they have those resonances. So as we are embracing the flow of life, and we're dancing with the river and with the rhythms and the river like aspects of it, because it is very much flows, and it has different points, just like a river. Like rivers have points where they are more calm and they seem almost placid, and then rivers have rapids, points where it's jagged and it's rocks. And so embracing the flow means being able to be comfortable with both of those aspects, to be able to be comfortable when things are heavily in flux, when things are heavily in motion, when things are moving fast and there are tons of obstacles in your path. But it also means that you need to, know how to relax in those periods of uh, seeming stillness, where the movement is coming in more slow. And Western society, and also just the past couple years of life have gotten everybody very acclimated to this like hustle culture, this space where everything has to be done, and it has to be done now because time is of the essence and we're running out of time. And so a lot of people are very good with the rapids. Like a lot of people are very good at navigating stress and stressful situations. Sometimes they actually find that they have trouble navigating the periods of peace because they can't seem to relax in those periods of peace. It's like if you're trying to float, if you're speaking of rivers and waters, if you're in a body of water and you're trying to float, if you're super tense and you can't relax, you're not going to be able to do it. So in the times when things are seemingly still and we still need to maintain our balance and our equilibrium, getting a call, we take that as confirmation. But it can be difficult to maintain your balance and your equilibrium in those times when things are slow, when you can't necessarily see the movement, in the times when you've planted the seed but you're still waiting for that first shoot to come up. It can be very difficult to be tense and to be constantly freaking out and creating more consternation for yourself then is necessary. As we're talking about the divine feminine, sometimes it's not all go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. Sometimes what you need is on its way to you. I don't know if anybody's ever seen the movie Stardust. Incredible fantasy movie from the early 2000s. It's got the dude from Daredevil in it. It's got Robert De Niro. It's got what's Shorty's name? Michelle Pfeiffer. Excellent all-star cast. But within the context of the movie, did I completely lose my train of thought? Okay, so we're talking about embracing the flow of life. We are talking about, I was so excited to share it too. Okay, so we're talking about Stardust. Well, anyway, that movie is just incredible. It has a lot of interesting metaphysical details and points that you can glean from it. So if you get a chance to check it out, please do so. I think you'll find it fulfilling. But yeah, I started talking about the cast, and it just completely, the point that I was trying to make just completely escaped me. So I'm going to go ahead and take this time to pull another card. Full moon in Sagittarius. See the bigger picture. Okay. Oh, wait. Okay, so as we're seeing the bigger picture and we are stepping in this divine feminine energies and aspects of rest, and we're talking about how sometimes as we are going, embracing the flow of life, it's rapids, and at other points in times, it is placid, and how we can create lots of consternation for ourselves if we. Oh, I remembered the point that I was trying to make. Hey, shout out to me seeing the bigger picture and taking that advice. But there's a point in time where uh there's characters in the storyline that are witches. So these witches are waiting for something that they need in order to achieve, like, eternal life. And so Shorty keeps doing, like, she keeps doing her divination, she keeps doing her runes, and she keeps getting the same message. So she calls the other witches and she's like, hey, can you guys do a more detailed reading, like with entrails? Because I've only got my runes here, but I really need to know what I'm supposed to be doing, because what it's telling me to do isn't making any sense. Because it was just telling her, like, hey, all you've got to do is wait. And then they did the more detailed reading and they're like, oh, that's because what you're seeking is coming to you. So in a world where we are taught that everything has to be hustle, everything has to be outward expression, and everything has to be, shout out to my puppy, everything has to be situations where people are moving fast and you have to go get it. You got to go get it. You want $1, you got to go get it. You better get up, get out, get something. Like, very much this putting the impetus upon you to make things happen in your reality. But if, as we embrace the flow of life, sometimes we realize that there is nothing we could do but embrace this period of change. Like, yeah, when you are dealing with rapids, you've got to have your head on swivel. And so it's always something for you to do, because you got to dodge this rock and make sure that you're keeping the raft balanced as you're dealing with the high pace and the high level flow. So it can be disconcerting and like a weird change where you just dealt with a period of rapids and then you come into this placid area and you feel like you're not doing enough. You're like, well, I feel like I should be doing something. Shouldn't I be doing something? It's no way that all there is for me to do is relax. But big Taurus energy. Relax. If we big Taurus energy. Sometimes the best thing that you can do is relax. Sometimes you've already planted the seeds and now you're just waiting for the shoots to come up. But if you keep going back and disturbing the soil and, checking on it and peeking and being a busybody and overwatering it and doing all sorts of stuff, you can actually impede the progress. You can actually cause more harm than good. So sometimes it's best that we just lean into our divine feminine energy and just do what you can. When it comes to embracing the flow of life, that does not mean being passive, but it means, serenity prayer, knowing the things that you can control, knowing the things that you can't, and just being okay with either polarity and how it presents. Because at the end of the day, You can't control, like if you are on a river and you are dealing with rapids, you can't control where the rocks are placed. You can't control which way, and as much as you can steer, that is a co-creation. You can only, steer, but so much. It is, you are working in tandem. So as we are dealing with the flow of life, we are working in tandem, and we need to understand. No, thank you, baby. You see me doing a reading. Go lay down. I will be done soon. And then we can have playtime. You see me doing a reading, gang. Go lay down. Puppies be like wanting all the attention. But yeah, so as we are leaning into seeing the bigger picture, we want to be mindful of the fact that, baby, no thank you. Are you done? I can't play with you right now. I'm on a live. I'm doing a reading. Go lay down. Oh yeah. So part of seeing the bigger picture is allowing for the fact that life is going to happen in varying degrees of settings and hydration break. Yeah. So as we are navigating the flow of life and embracing the flow of life, baby, do you want to go in timeout? Do you want to go in timeout? No, you don't want to go in timeout? Okay, then go relax, or you're going in timeout. So part of seeing the bigger picture is, every time we plant a seed, we don't necessarily know when it's going to sprout, when it's going to actualize. So part of seeing the bigger picture is understanding the purpose of waiting, to understand the purpose of the divine feminine receptive energy. It gets demonized a lot within our society, where it's like, if you aren't constantly grinding, constantly chasing your goals, people will really try to downplay it and make it like you're lazy and make it like so forth. But sometimes part of seeing the bigger picture is knowing when to ebb and knowing when to flow. It's knowing when to give that hustle energy, and then also when to wait. And that can be difficult to navigate. I like how both of these are full moon energies. So full moons represent peak illumination. So it's like the time when the moon is brightest in the sky, which in back in the days of our ancient ancestors was when it was easiest to travel. So part of seeing the bigger picture is, just like that. Like, if back in the day, if you needed to travel at a certain point in time, at a certain distance, part of seeing the bigger picture was knowing that it was better to travel someplace unfamiliar, that might be dark, that might be treacherous, on a full moon, as opposed to a new moon where there's going to be very little light in the sky. And it just means taking into account all the various factors that you have going on, and taking into account all the various factors that you have going on. And like you said, knowing what you can control, knowing what you can't, and honoring and holding space for both. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get into our animal spirits guide. And shout out to anybody who works with animals, works with animal spirits, has a pet, because it can be a bit much. Shout out to the puppy and her learning to self-soothe, because we all have to learn to self-soothe sometimes. So last shuffle, but ancestors, most high, angels, spirit guides of our collective, what divine messages do you have for us as we tap in? Okay, eagle spirit. Spirit has your back. Okay, so that's part of the reason why we can just relax and go with the flow, because spirit has our back. Like, think about okay, so I'm getting lots of ego downloads, but just think about if you had a bird of prey watching your back, how few things in the natural world would mess with you. Like, you know, if you had an eagle in your crib, it would, you wouldn't have a lot of rats in there, so it's just, when spirit has your back, it creates these natural points in time where you don't always have to be doing all the work. Also makes me think of Lord of the Rings, where, Frodo and, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, where Frodo and Sam finally destroy the ring, and they're like on the cliff outside, and they think that they're about to gut, like they think that they just are about to die. The magma is flowing around them. They're on like this little rock island precipice, cliff like region, and they're just like saying their goodbyes to each other, and then these giant eagles just come and rescue them, sent by Gandalf. The shout out to Gandalf. But spirit had their back in that instance. Like, they thought that, if they would have had to rely upon themselves, they would not have been able to get themselves out of that situation. But little did they know, and this is the thing, they had no way of knowing. There were no cell phones. They weren't in communication with Gandalf, like, doo-doo, hey, bro, we just destroyed the ring in Mount Doom. Can you send some eagles to come pick us up? They had no way. They really just stepped out on faith, and in their hour of need, the perfect thing that they needed came. And life can be very much like that. Spirit has our back. That's why we don't necessarily have to break our neck. Lean into this Taurus energy, baby, and take a nap. Eat something really, really good, maybe moderately decadent. I won't tell. Life is about balance. You can have a cheat day on your diet. Like, now, if you're vegan, maybe don't go, eating meat, but you have to know what works for you and your limitations. But in a world where, like, how would you, like, there's that quote, it's like, how would you present to the world, or how would you step forward into this thing if you knew there was no way you could fail, if you knew that all you could do was succeed? But in a world where your ancestors really have your back, as long, because, like, a lot of times we don't give ourselves enough credit for what we have done, especially if we define ourselves in these limited 3D parameters. Like, if you go based on how much money you make and how many degrees you have, and not that there's anything wrong with money or degrees, but life is about balance, and it's not all about that. So as we are stepping into these energies, we want to make sure that we are honoring the fact that, you know there are just, sometimes you never know how many people's lives you may have saved just by a kind word, just by a simple gesture, just by a moment of kindness. um, you never know how many people that you may have influenced just by holding the door, and maybe that person paid it forward, and then that person after them paid it forward, and it just became this whole chain of good that started with you giving somebody a compliment. At the end of the day, be quiet or you're going in timeout, baby. Be quiet or you're going in timeout. So, yeah, I love that example of Lord of the Rings, because, like, they really had no idea. And also, when Gandalf sent the eagles, there was no guarantee that the eagles were going to be able to find them. There was no guarantee. There's no guarantee that those eagles were going to be able to find them. There's no guarantee that my puppy is barking because she wants my attention, right? Go lay down, my love. Go find something to do. Go find something to play with. So, yeah. Stepping out on faith is basically understanding that there are energies in creation that care about you, like your ancestors, your passed over loved ones. They really care about you. They have your best interest at heart, and if there are things that they can do on their side to make sure you have good outcomes, they're going to do so. That is part of the ebbs and the flows as we are going with the flow of life. Those happy accidents, a lot of times that just seem coincidental, are actually things outside of ourselves, things that are bigger than us, working in tandem to make those things happen. So, ooh, we have parrot spirits. Watch your words. Okay, so make sure you are speaking life into all of your plans. Make sure that you are using your throat chakra in a healthy way. And because even as far as watch your words, it can be the words in your internal dialogue. And this is another thing that I was going to say about the eagle spirit is it can be very difficult if you know have grown up in situations where you know your parents were kind of trash, and like you know you grew up around people who did not necessarily have your best interest at heart, to think that anybody out here could possibly care about you or more than you care about yourself. That can be a difficult thing to get into your mind. So you want to make sure that you are, you know, you are not self-defeating before things even get a chance to come to fruition. You want to make sure that like if you had a parrot, you would watch what you said around said parrot, because uh you don't necessarily want him repeating things. And you know, like when people are over, that could be embarrassing. So your subconscious mind is very much like a parrot that you have in your house. So the things that you are reading, the things that you are eating, the things that you are listening to, the things that you are speaking onto your life, and even the things that you are allowing people to say to you and speak over your life are all going into your subconscious mind and are all influencing, you know, your reality and what you think is possible for you. If you know, if you know, there's that the thing that's like, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, you will think that the fish is just the worst creature on the planet. But at the end of the day, that's why it's important to that's why it's important to be mindful, um that we are dealing with these varying energies appropriately. Trying to see what the puppy's chewing on because she got a little bit too quiet. You know, as that's like when you know your kids get too quiet and you got to look, because it's like it seems like you're probably doing something you're not supposed to be doing. But yeah, so we want to make sure that we're watching our words, because you know your inner child is listening. Uh your ancestors are listening. Shout out to one of my family members who used to tell me back in the day, like when I was in the midst of my anxiety and like my internalized negative parent voice, that was just like, don't talk to yourself like that. Like you wouldn't let somebody in the street talk to you like that. Like I wouldn't let somebody in the street talk to you like that or talk about you like that. So don't talk about yourself like that. Like if you wouldn't let somebody say it about your best friend or your partner or your child, you probably shouldn't be thinking it about yourself. And if it is something that is true, like it, you know, like, because sometimes the self-assessments are necessary, but if it's true, then you need to get to taking the steps to change it. If it's something that is changeable, if there's stuff that you don't like about yourself, take actions to change it. Don't just sit there and berate yourself and beat yourself up. That does not actually solve the problem. If anything, it lowers your vibration, lowers your self-esteem. It makes you feel like you can't do any better than what you're doing, so you might as well just double down and lean into the nonsense. So yeah, you want to watch your words, because words have so much power as far as vibrationally speaking, there have been experiments where people have, spoken into water or played different music for different plants, and they grow different, and the water crystals form different images depending on these things. So vibration impacts reality, and also uh words have certain connotations. Like I saw somebody the other day that was like, oh, instead of good night, do people say grand lowering? And it's like, no, because night doesn't have a negative connotation. People think that people do certain things. People think that when folks are intentional about their words and their energies, that they're being extra. It's like, oh. It's like, I'm not trying to tell you what to say. I'm not trying to tell you how to talk to yourself, but I'm just saying you're not going to talk to me any type of way. So, like, very much that same energy. Like, sometimes you have to draw boundaries because, like, morning has a negative connotation. So, if a person decides that they don't want to tell somebody good morning and they would rather say something different, why is that such a big deal? Why are you watching their words? Now, notice that it says watch your words and not watch their words. Now, if the words are directed at you, then that is your right in terms as an autonomous being to have your boundaries be what they are. But in terms of watch your words, it's not watch their words. If somebody's over there and they want to be a grand rising individual, that does not affect your life at all. But a lot of times, if you just like that, if you it gets into a similar thing. If you are somebody who speaks well to yourself, who has high self-esteem, who thinks that anything is possible for you, there are going to be people who are going to be threatened by that. There are going to be people who are going to think that you are arrogant because you think that anything is possible for you, because you do not limit yourself and put you in these boxes. And depending upon their proximity to you, they will either try to speak that negativity over you or either just send just low vibrational vibey energy your way. And at the end of the day, it's like, bro, just because you think you only deserve a 2 on the scale and I think I deserve a 10, that means you have beef with me now. And a lot of times that does, because then that's when you get into people being like, oh, you think you're better than me. And it's like, no, you think that because I think I deserve a 10, and you are afraid that you are only worthy of a 1. And so because I value myself at a 10 and you value yourself at a 1, that means that makes you think that I'm comparing me to you. But I see you as a 10. You see you as a 1. How about that? I never said you were a 1, bro. You said you were a 1. In my world, everybody's 10s. I had to actually come up out of that. Being like, no, everybody's on the same. Like, nah, bro, some people. But it takes all kinds to make a world. And even if somebody is at a 1, that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to treat them poorly. If anything, I might give that person extra help and hold them to maybe a little bit of a lower standard than a person who's a 10, because it's like, bro, yeah, like if you have all this knowledge, it's like once you get a certain amount of knowledge, that's the reason that ignorance is bliss, because like once you get a certain amount of knowledge, you're held to a certain standard. Once you get a certain amount of knowledge. I think she's eating my workout glove, which in defense of life was already on its last leg, but I wasn't necessarily ready to buy new workout gloves. I'm gonna take that as a message, and just frig it. I'm just gonna get some new workout gloves because they were on their last leg. They were on their last leg anyway. If we're being honest. So how about that? Also, the new moon, throw out old stuff. If there's old stuff that you have that's on its last leg, that's like, because like I am the queen of DIY. I am the queen of reuse, recycle, and so forth, which is why I've been rocking out with those holy workout gloves. But sometimes you have to treat yourself. Sometimes you have to treat yourself to nice things like, ooh, $5 workout gloves gonna break the bank. Shout out to Five Below. But yeah, like sometimes you have to treat yourself, and sometimes you have to throw out old things to make room for the new. Apparently I was not finna get rid of those gloves, and it was time. And my ancestors were apparently not getting through to me. So they were like, we're just gonna have the puppy eat it. So then you have no choice. And sometimes life will do that to you. It'll put you in situations where it becomes imperative that you do a thing, because otherwise you probably wouldn't have done it if you weren't put into a situation where you absolutely had to. And like, I get that, especially because Taurus energy is very settled. It is very much dig your heels in. It is very much um mountainous in its very much mountainous in its energy and in its stoicness. So during Taurus season, it can be very difficult to want to change things, to want to move. As much as it's a new moon, it is a very like this new moon is very lukewarm about new. It's more so like notice how I was saying new, but it's something that I already had that I just need a new replacement for. So maybe in terms of, instead of just like completely new things, maybe like replacement and revamping is what we're supposed to be focusing on in this new moon. Throw out that old thing, but then replace it with its new counterpart. Because otherwise we'll just be, dealing with makeshift and inferior things. And we deserve better. You deserve better. I deserve better than those workout gloves that get caught on the thing, and that, are losing their cushioning and are fraying in various places and times. I deserve better than that. Shout out to the puppy for eating them. So now I have to get new ones. But you deserve better than the things that we have been settling for in our lives. And as soon as we embrace that, as soon as we step into our Venusian energy and really, 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 like really, really, really up our value, like up our mental perception of what our worth is, and what that worth, uh what we deserve based on that worth. Because if you think that your worth is tied up into what you do on a 3D human level, and like how much money you make, and that's where you put your worth, then you will a lot of times be constantly subject to the ebbs and flows of life. Because what if you lose your job and you set your worth by the fact that you're a CEO, but now you're not a CEO anymore? Where does your worth come from? So we want to make sure that as we are dealing with this Venusian energy, that deals with the worth of things, that we are basing our worth in real tangible things. And I don't mean real tangible as in things that you can hold. I mean real and tangible as in things that are intrinsic to you, things that even if Western society were to deplete tomorrow, you would still be like, if you are a trustworthy person, if you are an honest person, that is a virtue that's going to serve you in no matter what environment, in no matter what society. So we want to make sure. So if you base your value on the fact of like, part of my self-worth is the fact that I'm an honest person and I value myself because I communicate openly and effectively with people, that is a good thing to base a worth on. Like, that's a good thing to be feeling yourself about. Like, I don't have to be one of these people out here who lie and, are afraid of people's responses. I am going to tell the truth and shame the devil. So we want to make sure that we're leaning into those real intrinsic values when it comes to determining our worth, and not just letting society judge us by what car you drive. Oh, how much is just shoes? Oh, just things that at the end of the day you can't even take with you, that are going to literally disintegrate, that are not going to be remembered. Like there's that scene in Troy where the bull was talking about how he was scared to do something, and Achilles was like, well, that's why no one's ever going to remember your name. As much as Achilles, is remembered for the physical things that he did, it's not like, oh, it's not like, oh, Achilles' sword, but it's the virtues that he represented that are the reason that his name has stood throughout time. Yes, being a warrior, but it's not like, oh, his sword is like the best thing. Like, no, dude, it was his resilience, his intelligence, his ability to strategize. Like, so we want to make sure that we are placing our intrinsic value when it comes to why you value yourself and why you value others around you when it comes to what can people bring to your world. You want to make sure that you're judging them based on the content of their character. You want to make sure that you're judging them and having discernment and not judging like from a sense of, but like you have choices about who you have in your world and who you have not. So as you're operating that discernment, you want to have your discernment be based in, how does this person treat me? How do they treat small animals? How do they treat people with less power than them? How do they treat, people who can't do anything for them? How do they treat me? And all of those things become, you know, criteria by what you should judge people on, not like, what can they do for me? What can they buy me? Where can they take me? Those type of things. How do they make me feel? Do I feel good and charged up after interacting with them? Do I feel drained and like I need to recharge? Like, all of these are important factors to take into account when it comes to mm. Shout out to coconut water. Amazing. Also, I just saw something earlier. We're just going to get into a random fact, but I just saw something earlier about how they were using like coconut hulls to produce activated charcoal to put in like gas masks to fight like gas during World War II, and that was like a big thing. So like, shout out to coconuts. Shout out to nature for always providing and for, a way always being made, because spirit has your back. So yeah, the earth provides abundantly because spirit has your back. So yeah, we want to make sure that we're watching our words. We want to make sure that we are embracing the flow of life. We are focusing on the things that we can change, but we are also leaning into relaxation. I've had a productive day. I spent the first half of the day. I do music, so I was doing some editing for some musical tracks. Then, got into this, but now the rest of my day is about to be legitimately spent in relaxation. I'm about to make some food and really just relax, find something good to watch, and rub my heels together. I suggest you do put on your comfiest clothes, treat yourself, and treat yourself doesn't always have to be a big monetary thing. Sometimes treat yourself is giving yourself permission to turn your phone off and not respond to that group chat that is stressing you out, or not, it's giving yourself to permission to call off of work. They'll be okay. They'll live. Sometimes treating yourself is giving yourself permission to have an extra serving of something. Sometimes treating yourself can be as simple as that. No, thank you, puppy. Had to close my gym bag because now she's just in there foraging, and I've got like ankle weights, and I really, those are in good condition, so I don't want her messing with those. But yeah, we want to make sure that as we are embracing the flow of life, we're leaning into the things that we can change, the things that we can't. Um, and yeah, I was just saying, take some time to rest this weekend. Treat yourself. Maybe if you always, do olive oil, maybe have a little real butter. I don't know. I can be a little bit of a bad influence sometimes because I'm like life is about balance, and as much as you want to make sure that you are maintaining health, you also want to be feeding yourself. You want to actually be feeding yourself in your spirit, and you want to actually be doing things that you enjoy. Not saying that you should have cheeseburgers, a bacon cheeseburger every day. But if you have one once every 6 months, it's not the end of the world. Like, honestly, it's really not. Like, it'll be negligible if you go and eat some kale and spirulina in the next, like, so as much as we want to make sure that we are maintaining discipline, maintaining focus, and all of that things, you got to relax a little bit, gang. It is Taurus season. Go eat something yummy, go wear something comfy, go lean into your sensuality, go lean into your senses, and embrace those things. And that has a lot to do with like the divine feminine element. Like, understand that you don't have to be in hustle, 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 go hard mode all the time. You can just chill. Honestly, you can just chill because you've planted the seeds. That's like, and oh, I'm gonna leave out on this note because we're getting close to an hour, and I didn't want to go too much past that. And of course, the puppy is gonna be indignant again. No, thank you, baby. I have 10 more minutes. You need to go relax. Go chew the glove that was just so occupying your time. So the last thing that I was going to say. Oh, I hope the puppy didn't knock it out of my brain. So the last thing that I was going to say is that as we are leaning into this this Taurus New Moon energy, and we are thinking about beginnings and new aspects of reality. Um, oh, okay. Thank you, universe. I'm so grateful that I got that back because it's really good. So I've been talking about the things of planting seeds, but most times in our modern reality, when we think about planting seeds, it's like, oh, I have a house plant, or oh, like, but most people don't work in like a large agricultural setting. But like back in the day, that's another reason why summer in our brain is so associated with the fun months. Because once you planted the stuff in the spring, there was very little to do until it came time to harvest it. Yeah, you had to like go in and periodically weed and like make sure that nothing else was, like, you had to check it for pest damage and like maybe, spray it with your natural, insecticides and so forth. But that was not like a super labor intensive process. Us being removed from the natural rhythms of life really has messed up our ability to understand that sometimes it's okay to sit down. It's okay to sit down, gang. It's literally okay to sit down. Sometimes it's nothing to do. Sometimes it's nothing to do. And I know that everybody's nervous system doesn't necessarily want to hear that, because our nervous systems really are tuned to this constant stimulation, this constant dopamine, this endless scrolling, this constant stimulation. And it's like, go sit quietly somewhere. I guarantee you that if you do that just like 5 minutes a day, just like sit quietly and just take some deep breaths, you'll feel so much better, gang. It doesn't really, it's the thing. Wellness is not rocket science. Wellness is not rocket science. We're not, yeah. Wellness is really as simple as listening to your body and giving it what it needs. Listening to your spirit and giving it what it needs. Not necessarily listening to your mind, because most people's minds are not their own. Most people's minds are so programmed with all the things that they've seen from TikTok and so forth. But that's why detoxes are important. We always talk about like bodily detoxes, but detoxing from toxic input goes beyond the things that you eat. Yeah. So we want to make sure that we're leaning in. That part of going with the flow of life is knowing when to sit down and rest and build a fort and eat snacks. I'm probably going to make some popcorn. I make my popcorn from the kernels, you know what I'm saying? That way I can control my own butter to salt ratio. I am a popcorn connoisseur, you know what I'm saying? So, yeah, like treat yourself. That's like one of my inner child. happy place snacks. Um, I also have some tater tots that I might bang out because I I was having this conversation with a friend the other day, but tater tots are really the superior potato product, like even superior to fries, because like I've had bad fries. I've never had a bad tater tot. Think on it. And if you go ahead and repeat it, you don't necessarily have to give me credit. I don't necessarily need to be like the tater tot guru. You know what I'm saying? And it's very appropriate that we've spent a good amount of this talking about food because it is Taurus season, and if you aren't eating good, what are you doing with your life? And like I said, life is about balance. It doesn't always have to be spirulina and kale, even though I really like kale. I make my own protein shakes, but some days some days I want a milkshake. Some days am I going to have a milkshake like every week, every day? Like, no, probably not. But if I have a milkshake once every 6 months, it's not like, I will live, gang. I will live. And so treat yourself in moderation, but know what moderation is to you and know your limitations, because that's the thing. You know your own limitations. That's why it's watch your words, not watch anybody else's words. Because you shouldn't be trying to tell anybody else how they should live their lives. That's another thing. It's like, watch your words. It's like, people are going to do what works for them, and the most that you can do is show up when asked to. If they ask you for advice and so forth, you can speak life into them, but other than that, people are going to walk their own paths and skin their knees at places that you would have been like, I'd have never stumbled over that. Yeah, but that's not your path. You stumbled over something that they would have hurdled easily. And so y'all could both sit here and be like, well, I would have. Okay, y'all could sit there and do that, or y'all could just focus on your own paths and probably progress a lot faster and easier. And make sure you're staying hydrated as we are getting into the warmer months, and understand that hydration is more than just water. So let's get into a little chemistry lesson. So in order for your body to be hydrated, it actually takes three components: H2O, potassium, and salt. So sometimes, if you're dehydrated, you might think, oh man, I need some water. You need to check in though and think about, when was the last time I had water? When was the last time I had something that has potassium? When was the last time I had something with some salt? Because there was actually a news story last year about a woman who actually passed away because she was dehydrated, but she thought she needed water, but she didn't need water. She actually needed salt or potassium. And so she overhydrated herself. She kept drinking water, further diluted those chemicals in her blood, and it ended up being a toxic reaction. So there's a metaphor in that. As we are thinking about our needs and what we are intaking into ourselves, what you think is causing the deficit is not always what's causing the deficit. Sometimes it can be something else. Sometimes it can be another factor in the equation that you just do not necessarily that you're not necessarily mindful of. So that's why bananas. That's why if you ever got a cramp, which is just your muscle being dehydrated, you ever get a cramp, that's why bananas are good for cramps, because it's got that potassium. Most people get enough sodium, but also if you are a super duper healthy individual and you don't really do a lot of additional salt in your things, you might want to lean into some seaweed and as a snack. Things that are going to give you those natural iodines and so forth. But the puppy is telling me that it is time to go, so I'm going to get up out of here, baby. I am coming now. Go lay down. I know. And I've been on here for an hour and I haven't been playing with you or paying you any attention. I know. I'm a terrible Ema. I know. I know. Go lay down. I'll be over in a second. So, it's been real, gang. I hope everybody has a fabulous new moon. As you can see, I'm in trouble, so I've got to go. But can you please be quiet so I can do my outro? Be blessed, be well, be naturally you. Join us. We're going to be doing another Therapy Thursday this Thursday. So feel free to come in and tune in. That is a segment that we've been establishing that's basically just to come in and get things off of your chest. If you are going through something, you are welcome to share it in the chat, ask questions. I will be answering questions. I'll also be doing live free pools for anybody who just needs a little message, healing, and so forth. So yes, be blessed, be well, be naturally you. And I will hopefully see you guys on Thursday. But if not, if you come across this after, maybe there's something in that Therapy Thursday. It'll probably be Therapy Thursday episode 2. So you can sort it out that way, just in case, you're coming upon this later. But I hope that I set the intention before that this message finds exactly who it's supposed to. And yeah, I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend. If anybody feels like sharing in the comments below how you leaned into your divine feminine energy, what your special, snack to yourself was to treat yourself for Taurus season. Yeah, I would love to hear it. And if you guys have any snack recommendations, like, okay, I'm gonna share one of my snack recommendations with you guys. If you are a fan of cranberry sauce, make yourself a peanut butter and cranberry sauce sandwich as opposed to peanut butter and jelly. It will change your life, gang. And if you want to be extra special, you could cook it like a grilled cheese, like butter. It trust me. Trust me. My Taurus moon knows what it's talking about. But be blessed, be well, be naturally you, and we up out of here. Gang, gang. Gang, 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 gang. Tell me what you